got some songwriting tips to help you write better songs. So you can add these tips into your songwriting process to make your songwriting easier and more effective. Tip for today is to start writing your songs with a vibe. So often we'll start with a voice memo, or we might start with a chord structure or something. Quickly turn that into the vibe that you want your song to be. So what I mean by that is, like, what does it feel like? What artist does this kind of sound like? What is the general feeling of your song, and write from that. So I've found lately writing songs, if I start with this vibe, so I just, in the computer here, just chuck down a chord progression, maybe like a quick simple drum beat or something, it kind of gives it a feeling. And then from there, my melodies come out feeling like that. My lyrics come out feeling like that, because I'm writing to a vibe rather than just seeing what happens as I go. So sometimes the song can morph. It might start out with like this laid back groove, but then the melody might be kind of pushing. So then you can kind of adjust the groove to kind of match that pushing melody. But we've started with a vibe, and that works really, really well. So probably the best way to do this is, like I said, grab a reference track and write as if you're pitching to someone. So you're probably writing songs for yourself to perform and record, and that's awesome. But if you can switch your head to kind of go, okay, I'm going to write a song that whoever it would be, let's say like you're into Shawn Mendes. You're like, I'm going to write a song that Shawn Mendes would want to sing, because that kind of gets you in a Shawn Mendes vibe, or whoever you want to be. So maybe you can completely flip that up and say, I always kind of write like that. So I'm going to push myself to write in this sort of different vibe. So I'm just going to pretend that I'm pitching this song to Maroon 5. And then you kind of write in a vibe of Maroon 5. So what you want to do, as always when you're songwriting, is not to copy them and not to kind of write what they would write, but you can definitely grab a vibe and then write to that and come up with your own lyrics. But so if you're just writing with a guitar, chords, and just trying to hoping that whatever comes out is amazing and great, it's just a risky way to do it. To be able to write a song every time when you sit down to do it, if you can start with a vibe. So I'm talking about 4 bars, maybe an 8-bar loop that you can just put in the DAW, do that chord progression, do the drum beat, and just sit in that groove. And you'll find that the melodies will almost write themselves. Once you get in that groove, in that flow, in that vibe, it sounds, you know what it should sound like, and you can subconsciously do that. So I've found both with melodies and lyrics, once you got a vibe, the song will just write itself. It's a really easy and effective way to get the kind of sound, to get the song sounding like you want right from the start, is to define that vibe right from the start. If you're struggling to finish your songs or even start new ones, I've got a template that you can download. It's basically a checklist that you can go through and make sure that you've got all the elements you need to finish your song. This is going to take away the overwhelm around songwriting and make sure that you're confident your songs are finished, legitimate, and ready to go out into the world. The checklist is going to help you know where your song's up to. You can see kind of what you've done and what still needs to go into your song. Following through the checklist is going to make sure that your songs will connect with your audience. You're going to have a melody that pops. You're going to have harmony that supports that well, rhythm that backs in. You're going to have a structure that carries your storyline and that your audience can follow with. It's all through the checklist, so you can just go as you're writing and just tick off, yeah, got that. It's not going to take away your creativity. It's going to take away the overwhelm and allow you to be more creative. So that downloadable checklist is completely free. You can grab that from the link below, or head to dotted8.com, dotted8.com/artist, and just make your songwriting easier. Let's get back to the episode. So if you hear this tip but you do nothing with it, then nothing will change. We're so good at consuming all this information and thinking, yeah, I'll do that one day, and never doing it. So take a step right now and chuck in the comments, what was it about this tip that resonated with you? What was it that clicked? And then more importantly, what are you going to do with it? What's your action from this tip to do with your songwriting? So chuck that in the comments as the first step, and then make sure you go out and actually do some songwriting and implement this in the real world as well. If you got any value from this video whatsoever, give it a like for me, and do subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more songwriting tips.